So, hey guys, I guess I'm going to be the one to say it, but alright. 45 cards could be better than 40 cards. In fact, 40 cards is not necessarily better than 45 cards. And we're going to go over why. So here I have a sample DD deck list here. So this was made specifically with minimalism in hand and min-maxing hand traps, right? So with Master Duel specifically, that you can either see this as an upside or a downside to Master Duel. But Master Duel is a best of one format, and that means that there's no side decking, which is something that TCG, for example, is balanced around. And that makes 40 cards a little bit better than, like, say, a 45 card deck, right? But there's also the aspect of just how modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just so consistent that even if we actually introduced like 10, 15 more cards, we still have decent consistency, surprisingly enough. But yeah. In terms of like this deck here, um, what exactly stands out to you guys? Because there's something that really stands out to me. We maybe have 40 cards here, but we have no main decked backer removal, and even if we were to like do this, and throw in just one Duster. First off, Duster not necessarily the best backer removal card out there. Surely Duster will be put at 3, Tropium. But okay. If we have Duster, what exactly are we doing here with this Duster? What are the odds of drawing into this Duster? Like, there are games where we would have automatically lost because we don't have any main decked backer removal. Well, I mean, in this case, we do have like Ortho since we were playing DD, but in like most decks, you do not have main deck backer removal. Like, for example, with Snake Eye, you do not have anything that does anything of the sort, right? So let's assume our opponent has, let's say, a skill drain and we need to out it. Well, how long till we get Dusted? Ah, I see that is 16th card. So we would need to live 16 turns and then drop the Duster on our opponent. Yeah, that's for sure likely. Well, I mean, we technically have Orthos, which would also get the job done, yeah. But assuming we don't have Orthos and we're just playing a normal regular ass deck, right? How long till we get Duster? Yeah, 16 turns. So, well, kinda. You have to double that number because technically your opponent has turns as well. So this would be on turn 32 of the duel, more or less, where you get Duster. And also, in these 16 draws, what are the odds that your opponent also drew like a Solemn Judgment or just some way of protection to skill drain? Yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed. So yeah, not so great. But if we of course put in more backer removal, odds increase. But it has downsides and upsides as well. Like, what am I doing with Harpy's Feather Duster going first? Staring my opponent to death. Will I set Duster? Like, what was this Harpy's Feather Duster doing for me? Literally nothing. So, upsides and downsides. But the main issue, of course, is just going second against controlled decks for the most part. And yeah, that is a pretty big issue. Just yeah, not much you can do except main deck backrow removal. But if we go to 40 cards, we clearly don't have enough room to throw in enough backrow removal. So if we were to just go over instead, we're looking a lot better. So if we just throw in like 3 copies of Cosmic here, and then let's do 2 evenly like this. I don't think these are necessarily the best options for this list, but if we were to just do this, right? So odds of drawing backer removal, significantly better, right? Well, somehow I got unlucky and only got 1 Cosmic, because all the other backer removal cards I have, apparently, are just going to be in the other half of my deck here, more or less, but yeah. So, backer removal, now we're seeing it a lot more, obviously, because we put in more copies. And we wouldn't have been able to reasonably fit it here, and notably, we didn't sacrifice any of our like hand traps or any of our like other cards here, so pretty solid in that regard. In fact, the starting hand is insanely cracked, to be honest. We have Effect Veiler, the interrupt, we have 7 Kepler, Swirl Slime, and Copernicus, which allows us to actually set up a anti-Nibiru play as well while we're here, and this just helps us deal with some back row a little bit. Or we can just like Cosmic Barking Island, for example, and this is just pretty versatile right now. But yeah, in terms of like what our deck is capable of playing against now, uh, we're dealing with now, I suppose, like whether we're going first or second, the scope of that has increased like greatly just from going to 45 cards and throwing in like some of these backer removal cards. So the primary issue that I think we're facing, like we've been facing for a while, honestly, is that the quality of backer removal cards we have they're just fairly low. Like for example, even if we go back to Duster, yeah, Hugin, Duster. How many copies of Hugin does your opponent have? How many copies of Duster do you have? Quick question. It doesn't matter. You could have literally 40 cards that are all like, well, not Duster per se, but let's say you have 40 copies of Lightning Storm, which you can only activate one every single turn. Your opponent, if they have Hugin, right? Well, this by itself would not be enough to stop your 40 cards, like your 40 Lightning Storms. So that wouldn't quite work. But what if my opponent has the Bestial Continuous Spell? What if they have Regained? Then that means if we literally hit them with Lightning Storm 40 times over the course of a duel, which we wouldn't be able to because they would start banishing our Lightning Storms off the top of our deck. Yeah, they would just keep recycling Hugin every single turn. Every single time we um, try to destroy their back row, they just summon Hugin. Protect, Hugin banish, our opponent draws a card. And also, at the same time, recycles Hugin. So even if they had one Hugin, we wouldn't be able to deal with it this way. So, yeah, just destruction back row removal. It's fallen off. So there was a point where there was an issue with like back row decks where they would be too vulnerable to specifically back row removal, right? But now it's come full circle, and now they're way uh, too resistant to just a lot of the backer removal we have now. So now we've actually power creeped our backer removal. So the only thing that's still like somewhat, in my opinion, like what's the word I'm looking for? Well, the only one that's decent is pretty much just evenly matched, but this is only decent if you're specifically going second. If you're going first, you can't really activate it well or easily. So that sucks. But if we are going second specifically against a control deck, this is miles and leagues above Duster right now. It's just cannot be compared. There's also the aspect of course, if our opponent is not playing a control deck, right? In which case, this also has mileage. In which case, Duster in general has a lot less mileage. It just trades like 1-for-1, like Cosmic, pretty much. So it's almost come to the point where instead of playing Duster, just a 1 of Cosmic would be better if we were just going by 1 of, like 1 of Cosmic versus 1 of Duster. Cosmic is probably better, sadly, somehow. So yeah, not the greatest, but it sure is an aspect of the game we have to consider. And there's also the issue with this deck, small issue that you might notice is that the grind game is really bad here. So we are running only one Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok and one Orthros. Normally I like to run 2 Ragnarok and 2 Orthros because this is essentially like backer removal, and having the extra copy does help with different things. Honestly, just having a second Orthros allows for certain lines where we can make Siegfried, where we couldn't if we were just running essentially one. Especially when I also want an Orthros to be able to pop back row, right? Because that comes up a decent amount of the time. And then we have our Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok, which is probably the most important card for rebuilding our board after it gets like wiped or something. If it gets fully wiped like our back row and then our board or our field, I guess, then having one Ragnarok actually really hurts to rebuild with. If we had the second one, it's pretty easy to rebuild. So what we could do, for example, is we can summon Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. Doesn't really matter how, but you just manage it, you know. And then this allows us to bring back a guy. So we'll bring back Flame Hiking Genghis, and then we can XYZ summon uh, our copy of Dias on top of the Ragnarok, and that triggers the Genghis, and then the entire board can rebuild itself mostly from that point already. So you're just vibing, I guess, right? And probably on the way to lethal at that point. But if we have one and it gets removed, we also use this as part of the combo. So yeah, not very fortunate there if something were to happen to our precious lad here. And also, these guys are necessary for the combo, but these guys are a little garnety. There's certain situations where they're like okay to open in hand, but for the most part, like garnets. They can be possible extenders in the right circumstances though, which is nice, but not always going to be great here. And certain cards, lowering the odds of drawing certain cards is also like an upside. I mean, depends, right? There is also the other aspect of having more cards allows you to increase the odds of having really bad bricked hands. So if we were to, well, let's go with this example. If we have just 5 cards in our main deck, uh, and they were all Exodia pieces, we're going to get bangers every single time, right? Because we just win the duel every time we play the game because we just full dead ass just open Exodia, right? But if we were to throw in like just 3 more cards, then the odds of drawing that Exodia is much worse. And if we don't have all 5 pieces of Exodia, of course, the hand is just completely garbage and does nothing now. And we're just bricked and we just lose most of our games, right? So we can think of it like that. Assuming we have like an 8 card deck and we just throw in like 3 copies of literally any card, I guess. So we could be playing like 3 of Cosmic with 5 Exodia pieces, then the only live card we would ever have is Cosmic Cyclone, or even worse, if it's just a completely dead card, doesn't really matter then. Let's go with like, I don't know, Cyframe Driver. Then we just have 3 copies of Driver that we can't summon or do anything with, and just we can't play any of the Exodia pieces because what if our opponent is bricked, you know? What if what if we draw into the last Exodia pieces we need because our opponent's so bricked, you know? Nothing we can really do. Nothing we can really commit. It's the same kind of idea here, right? Inversely, if we do have, for example, like a branded fusion, and we do only run, like, well, not branded fusion. Let's say we run a 1 card combo that goes into Verte, but we cannot actually activate the branded fusion because, uh, well, we get locked, right? So in this case, um, well, it's a bit complicated, but we want to be resolving essentially Verte, but we do not want to open Branded Fusion in our hand. If we were playing more cards, the odds of opening Branded Fusion lowers, right? If we had to like Verte to do it, because we're doing things that aren't fusion summoning. So let's assume we just want to make Mirror Jade with Verte, but we're going to be doing different things with our end board rather than just fusion summoning, right? So we're going to maybe, I don't know, it doesn't super matter, go into XYZs and XYZ climb into like an armored XYZ guy and then make Verte. If we were to do that and then summon Mirror Jade, right? We cannot open Branded Fusion in our hand. If we have Branded Fusion in our hand, Verte effect cannot send. And also, we don't actually run any targets to summon in our extra deck, right? So to make Mirror Jade, we would have to fusion using an extra deck monster, which we can't summon because the only ones we run are going to be like a copy of Mirror Jade, and then probably uh what's it called? Rinbrom? That those are probably the two cards we're going to be running, and then like some super poly targets, maybe at best. Or like another target for Fallen of Albaz to summon, so like maybe second Mirror Jade and then like another card like an Albion or something. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, that's just the basic idea, right? So if we open Grand Diffusion, we just lose all of those interactions. If we go higher in our terms of our card count, odds of drawing the Grand Diffusion lower, right? And we'll be able to do that combo. So yeah. 20 cards gives you more options, and it can decrease odds of drawing Garnets. The biggest downside to playing more cards is, of course, just having really horrendous cards because of all the different cards you're playing. So the odds of me just having like a hand with like 3 Imperm and then like 2 Cosmic increases when I'm above 45 cards. But already, this is not like a super likely scenario anyways. We're still like very likely already at this point, even if we go to 60 cards, to draw like one of our starters. So just for example, we'll throw in all of these guys. Okay, so I'll tell you guys if there's a starter. So starter here, starter here, and we still have combo here, but we don't have any one card starters here. This is a one card starter here as well. One card here, one card here, one card. Yeah, we still have our one card. Yep, combo. That's combo. This is still combo. This is still combo. Okay. Then here, this is still combo. This is combo. This is not combo. So how many hands was that? Like 8 hands? 10 hands? More? That we had combo throughout? Like, it could have been better, yeah, because we have just raw Garnets here. But, yeah. We still have combo most of our hands because Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Consistency on your like engines are like really high compared to previous decks and stuff, right? So consistency isn't as big of an issue, so that gives us a little bit more of a reason to go 40 cards or just a little bit above, because we still do want to keep some of our consistency here, and we still do want to have like extenders and not just starters, right? But yeah, just in general, we are going to be chilling pretty hard with this. And yeah, that's about all I got for you guys today. And hopefully this has changed your perspective a little bit on going 40 cards versus 45 cards. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. And if you have anything you'd like to say in the comments, feel free to do so. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.